Let's talk about Luke Bateman, the man of the moment, former rugby player, reality TV star who was on The Bachelor's Australia. He recently joined BookTok, okay? He said he loves fantasy. He started posting bookish content, and within a month, he's got a 2-book deal with Atria Books, which is part of Simon and Schuster Australia. You know that Simon and Schuster, one of the big 5 publishers? Yeah, that Simon and Schuster. Today we are diving into something that's been brewing for a while but has now fully exploded, the book talk to author pipeline, or as I like to call it, how to land a book deal in 30 days or less. Bonus points if you're hot, okay? Because apparently, if you have a symmetrical face and a TikTok account, the big 5 are just handing out contracts like Oprah with free cars. You get a book deal, you get a book deal, and you get a deal. But not everyone is clapping. But before we really get into it, I realized I just started yelling at you guys. I did not say good morning, hello. I didn't even hold your hand. So let's rewind a bit, okay? Hello, besties, and welcome back to my channel where we love books, we love commentaries, we love drama, and we especially love dissecting publishing chaos with a side of sarcasm and a bit of soul, baby. Hey. So, we're really going to get into the situation because I kid you not, I'm still processing, but we have to discuss it because I feel like we're seeing a trend that's going to continue. And I don't know how I feel about it. Now look, before anyone gets into anything, okay? I have watched his videos. He seems so sweet. Genuinely, he seems really nice. The man said, he loves classic fantasy. He's not just thirst trapping with covers of ACOTAR or the famous books. He actually seems like he reads Tolkien and all the best. So you know what? Respect to him. Because we have seen it on BookTok where because a lot of men realized that it had so many women, a lot of men started coming up here saying they love books and they just found all the popular books. And if you ask them what they're about, I don't think they could tell you a damn thing. That's not to say all men do that because BookTok is full of a bunch of amazing men who read and give the best recommendations and are just vibes. Can we talk Smitty? Can we talk Trey? There are just so many amazing men on there, but there are some men who just pull up there just trying to thirst trap and snag women. And for some of those women, I don't know how you guys keep falling for that trick, but that's a story for another day. And let me say this clearly before we really get into the topic. I am actually very happy for Luke. Just like I'm happy for Eden Victoria. I'm happy for Andy Darcy Theo. I'm happy for Ladarian Williams. And all of the book talkers living out their dreams. I'm genuinely so happy because I love how Book Talk has made it so that there is more power in the hands of authors. There's more power in the hands of regular people. I'm genuinely so happy because it's beautiful to see readers becoming writers and getting the chance to create the stories they love. I never want this to come off like I'm hating or bitter because I'm not. This isn't about tearing anyone down at all, okay? So I just have to put that out there. But with that being said, the timeline is interesting, okay? The timeline is very interesting. Okay, so months ago, and this is because with all of the news coming out, we're getting more information. There's been articles, there's been news releases. So we're getting more information about how everything went down, okay? And obviously, if you have been on TikTok, Book Talk, you know a bit in terms of like his appearance on Book Talk and what he talks about and posts about, okay? But months ago, Luke actually reached out to a publisher with a book idea. They never responded. Fair, because a lot of people will not respond if you don't have a written book. You got to have everything kind of sorted out. So with that, nothing came out of it. Then in April, he created his BookTok account. Within weeks, he blew up, which is absolutely amazing. And that happens for a lot of people, You hit the right spot on the algorithm, people vibe with you, they love you, and they follow you. It just happens, and that's absolutely amazing. So that's great for him, okay? And then, after he blew up on TikTok, on the book side of TikTok, his management team, because remember, this is a guy who's been on The Bachelor, this is a guy who is an actual athlete. He played rugby for the National Rugby League, So this isn't a guy working on his own. He's not your average Joe. He has a management team. His management team, after he blew up on the book side of TikTok, BookTok, so not him personally, they reached out to publishers. And guess what? This time, Atria Australia, the Australian imprint of Simon and Schuster, they came calling with a 2-book fantasy deal. Keep in mind that the proposal is actually for a 5-book series, but they came with a 2-book deal, which is fair, he's new, and once again, nothing has been written, okay? And let's not ignore the fact that Luke isn't some random new face on TikTok. I really want to kind of hammer that down as I'm talking about this topic on a whole. He's a known figure in Australia. He already had name recognition, press familiarity, and a national audience in Australia. So yes, this deal came from Simon and Schuster, but it came from their Australian division, which makes perfect sense considering his celebrity status there. Still, people lost it. And honestly, rightly so, if you were to ask me. Because the thing is, there are writers out here, actual dedicated writers, not saying that he isn't, but he himself has said that he hasn't written a word of this book, okay? He has spoken about how he's always wanted to be an author since he was young, but he hasn't written a book, okay? But there are actual dedicated writers who have been querying agents for years, who've been rejected hundreds of times because I've heard their stories, who've worked day jobs, night jobs, written in the gaps of childcare, illness, burnout, who've self-published, attended MFA programs, spent literal decades refining their voice and their craft, and they're still waiting, okay? Meanwhile, Luke shows up with a jawline and a camera and boom, publishing contract. You can practically hear the collective sound of eye rolls and eyebrows hitting the ceiling. Like, let's be real, guys. Luke didn't get this deal simply because he's secretly a prose prodigy. Once again, I'm not trying to tear him down or hate or be bitter. We haven't seen his work. But once again, we haven't seen his work. There's nothing to back anything. He got this deal because he's conventionally attractive. He's a white man. He has charisma and an existing media profile. Luke is essentially a celebrity, and we talked about celebrity books. And now he not just has all of that, but he also has a growing BookTok following. And we know how BookTok affects the publishing industry. Okay. Publishing loves a marketable face. It always has. It always will. At the end of the day, this is a business. I always say this when we're talking about issues in publishing, because I'm not going to pretend as though publishing is charity and they're just giving out deals to the best of the best. Publishing is not a meritocracy. I mean, maybe back in the day, back in the day it was, but publishing nowadays is not a meritocracy, and we're not going to pretend like it is. Let's stop. Let's stop with that. And that's not to say that the people who have publishing deals do not have it on merit. Like, most people work very, very hard. But once again, publishing loves marketability. Okay, not just a marketable face, but they like a marketable plot, marketable story. So this is why we have a bunch of books that are, let's be honest, trash, because it's what's popular in the market. It's what's going to sell, okay? That is publishing. That's how it is. That's how it's been for ages. But TikTok, now being in the equation, it has turned it into a gold mine. The logic is simple. If you can sell yourself, maybe you can sell a book. Most likely, you can sell a book, if we're being honest. But here's the tea, okay? That same opportunity is not equally extended. When a white man or a white woman does it, it's innovation. But when a black woman does it, it's unrealistic. When an indigenous creator does it, it's too niche. When a disabled creator does it, it's hard to market. Let's not act like we haven't heard these words before, We're not going to act like we haven't heard these these words being all thrown in our faces. We have, and we've heard it several times. And don't get me started on the types of books people assume Luke should read. The man came to Book Talk and said, I love fantasy. And suddenly his comments are flooded with OMG, you should really read Akotar, giving him, you should really read Age of Adeline, Dark Romance, all la la da da. Like, we haven't had enough white men discovering Pharaoh like it's the Dead Sea Scrolls. God forbid we suggest him a black fantasy author. Ooh! It is well. It is truly well. It's not, but we're gonna let it go, okay? For now. Let's talk about some nuance, okay? Because this isn't to say that every book talker who lands a deal is undeserving. And that's not even to say that Luke is undeserving. Once again, there's nuance in this. But let's look at some history. Andy Darcy Theo, who I mentioned earlier, he's been writing his book since he was a teenager. He shared his online journey for years before he got his deal. And he got a deal like really, really later. He got into one of the big five writing incubators. Like, I remember him talking about how I think it was Simon and Schuster, the writing school that they host. I think he was talking about how he attended it, and how he thought a book deal was going to come out of it, and then it didn't. And then he kept, pushing on his BookTok, and then years later, a deal did come out of it. We have seen Andy work. We have seen Andy push, and we have seen only a bit of it. We don't see what happens in the background, all the writing. Because remember, Andy was a regular person. Yes, he was a book talker, but a regular person working a 9 to 5. I believe he was a teacher. And he put in a lot of work and then got his deal. Ladarian Williams, he wrote Blood at the Root. It's still on my list to read. Haven't read it yet. I'm gonna read it eventually. But he hustled through indie theater. He drove Ubers to make ends meet and still wrote what people seem to really, really enjoy. A book that people are calling absolutely amazing. Once again, I've not read it, and so can't really comment. I don't know if, they're just saying that. So, but I heard that it's absolutely great. His BookTok visibility helped 100%, because I remember when the news came out about how, he reached out, on socials, and it got him deals. But you know what? This man had receipts. This man had work that he put in. He had the resume 100%. And they liked it. They saw that he also had the talent, and he published. Okay. And then we have people like Eden Victoria. Look, I really, really like Eden. I think she's like funny and cool, and she seems really, really sweet. She's, relatable. I would say a book talk staple. When I first joined book talk, you better believe she's one of the first people I saw. I don't follow her too much because the books that she recommends are mainly romance, fluffy. She loves them. And you guys know, I don't really care for her, but like I said, I still love her because she's absolutely so cool. From all of her videos, she seems really, really sweet. And I'm happy that she got her deal. I remember when she got her deal, when she announced her deal, I was just like, oh, that's absolutely so, so amazing for you. Watching her fans root for her and then seeing her publish, that's so, so powerful, especially as a Black woman in this publishing world. I was ecstatic. I was just like, oh my goodness, yes, breakthrough. I am so, so happy. But can we say that she deserved the deal more than, thousands of talented, lesser known authors grinding in obscurity? I don't know that we can say that, because I remember when she came out with her announcement, she's just like, yes, you people have been asking me for ages to write a book, write a book, write a book. And I'm glad to announce that I signed a deal. I'm writing a book. And so I don't know if she had aspirations to be an author, but she hadn't really, that hadn't really been the focus of her book talk. But once again, we don't know. Just because she hasn't spoken about it doesn't mean that she didn't have aspirations. But it didn't seem like it was something that she was hustling for and, just fighting for her life to do. Whereas a lot of authors, this is their one and only. This is their dream. This isn't something that came, as an idea or as a suggestion from fans or, other people. Once again, I'm very, very happy for her. I still haven't read her book. Remember, romance is kind of like the bottom of my list when it comes to priority. So I haven't read her book, but I've heard mixed reviews. But you get that with romance. But once again, I'm not saying that it's bad that she got her deal. I'm just saying that she deserved it more than the people who we have seen hustling, grinding, putting in work. I don't know if we can say that. And then there's the darker side of this trend, okay? Remember Callie, guys? I made a video about it because she is the woman who was caught scamming indie authors last year. Remember? If you don't remember, go and check out my video because it was absolutely atrocious what she did. She got dragged across TikTok, rebranded, and I won't even lie, she kind of just went past the situation as if it didn't happen, and then out of nowhere announced that she was writing a book. It literally took us all aback. We were like, what? Like, where is this coming from? We were kind of shocked. Watch. She'll probably get a book deal too. I won't even lie to you. Like, she probably will. She is one of the biggest book talkers out there. She has one of the biggest presences on TikTok, not just BookTok, on TikTok. So if she were to reach out to a publisher, I don't doubt that she would get a deal. I don't even doubt that a publisher would reach out to her and offer her a deal just because she announced that she was writing a book. I haven't really been keeping up to date with her and her writing journey, so I don't really know what has come of that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I genuinely wouldn't. But let's also not forget about Brooke Bellamy as well. You know, the baking influencer who allegedly plagiarized recipes in her cookbook. Like, that's a scandal that's been ongoing. I haven't been following too closely because there's just a lot going back and forth, and I got lost at one point. Despite the drama, though, Penguin published her. You know, they published her. The book sold well. Um, the internet doesn't forget, though. But, you know, money talks. Money talks. And she's made a good amount of it from this. Publishing is no longer just about craft, which is sad. It's about clout, visibility, virality. And it genuinely is so deeply disheartening for people who don't have that kind of reach, especially marginalized authors who already face systemic barriers. So, what do we do with all of this? Okay, do we storm the offices of Simon and Schuster? You know, do we all go bleach our hair and learn to edit thirst traps with book covers? Not quite, okay, but we do need to talk about it loudly, consistently. We hold publishers accountable. We lift up the authors doing the work, even if they don't have 100,000 followers. We have to create our own noise. And if you're someone who writes, don't let this discourage you. Please do not let this discourage you. Yes, we can see clearly that the game is rigged. It's rigged, baby. It's definitely rigged. And if you're a marginalized author, oh, it's rigged against you. It really is. Like, we've seen it time and time again. We've seen it. The game is rigged. The algorithm is a tyrant, but your voice still matters. Your story still matters. Keep going. You know what? If you have personality and you're not afraid to show your face on camera, go on camera. Have fun sharing your book, because I found Andy on TikTok, on BookTok, just making skits and giving reviews on books. And then one day I just saw him describing a book and I was just like, oh my goodness, this book sounds great. And then he's just like, this is a book I've been writing. And then I signed up to his newsletter. You will gain traction by honestly being honest about your book, because as we know, a lot of the times publishing is not behind you. Now, publishers, I know I come for you guys a lot, but you guys deserve it. You guys need to do better, because right now you're not doing the best. You're not even doing well, if we're being honest. You people need to get it together. It's not great. I'm so sorry. I'm actually so frustrated because it's annoying. It's annoying. Like I said, I'm so happy that we have social media because it puts powers in the hands of people, you know, for Andy and Ladarian and Eden to be able to get these book deals. That's amazing. They were able to leverage the platform that they created to make opportunities for themselves, and that's amazing. But not everyone has the ability to do that, and not everyone will get that opportunity. And that's where, that's where the inequity comes in, and we don't want to see that. And they're not the only ones. I believe Tigress, who um released a book last year. I believe it was released. I believe she also has a huge presence on BookTok, and I remember her talking about her journey. There are so many people who I follow who have a presence online, and they're leveraging that presence, and it's so amazing. But we know that not everyone has the ability, not everyone is comfortable doing that. Like I said, if you are comfortable showing your face, that's great, but not everyone can do that. Guys, I don't post on TikTok and Instagram that much anymore, because I honestly, even posting before, it wasn't like, it was weird, because anyone who knows me knows I'm not social. The only reason I got comfortable showing my face on screen was because I told myself that actually I'm talking to no one, okay? Because I kind of am, no one's in the room, and I can get comfortable just really talking to myself, because I talk to myself normally quite a lot. And so when it came to social media, just talking to my camera, that's what I had to tell myself. Like, Shelly, you're actually just speaking to yourself. But some people just can't do that. Some people are awkward, and they don't want to put their awkwardness out there. Some people don't want to put themselves out there at all. Their writing is them putting themselves out there. They put themselves out in those pages, and they want to share it with the world. That's how they can do it. That's how they choose to do it. That's how they're comfortable doing it. They cannot come out here and show themselves to the world, or they just don't want to, and that's their right to not do so. But in this world, right now where we are, like, it's hard. But like I said, guys, no, let's talk about it. Talk about it loudly and consistently. Make sure to hold these publishers accountable. Make sure you're lifting up authors doing the work. Make sure you're lifting up your faves as well. Like I said, I'm happy for Luke. And because he reads so much fantasy, chances are, he can write a good fantasy, but he can write a good fantasy book. But there's also a chance that he can't. Simply being a fan of books does not give you the skills to write a book. There's a lot that goes into writing a book. There's a lot of technique. There's a lot of skill that goes into it. You cannot just pick up a pen and paper or a laptop and start writing. It's like, some people can, some people, like I said, can end up being prose prodigies, but that's not everyone. And I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But if you genuinely like Luke, support him. I am supporting him. I'm hoping that this book is actually good, 100%. But we have to remember to support those who are actually doing the work as well, even more so than those who, just have a dream and a platform. Love you guys who have published with a dream and a platform. I love that for you guys. But yeah, let's try to bring back equity and equality in the game, because I'm not seeing it, okay? I'm not seeing it right now. But you know what, guys? I've shouted at you enough. I am now going to go and drink tea and scream into the void. Okay? But let me know in the comments, what do you think about the book talk to author pipeline? And what do you think genuinely about not just Luke, but other people? Do you think they actually deserve their deal? And for those who have published and are influencers, like, do you think they got it, because of work, or do you think they got it just because of clout? I really want to hear your thoughts, especially if you're an author, whether that be indie, traditional, aspiring, just have the idea in your head. Let me know, and let's actually see. But like I said, guys, don't go after Luke or any of these people because, they have a platform. Because if they put in the work, they put in the work. Let us support them, but let us support those who don't have the platform as well. That's all I'm saying. And that's it from me, guys. I will see you guys next time. I hope you guys have great days. And remember, it's all love. Mwah. Bye.